Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to start and scale a thriving virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 188. What are you putting up with?
I reckon we've all got something that we're putting up with, something in life or in business, something that every time you look at it or have to deal with it, you just kind of sigh, or you know it could be done better. Something that's impacting you in some way, whether that's physically, emotionally, energy-wise, something that you can't ignore any longer.
And why do we put up with these things?
For a few
Why,
reasons,
Sam?
Joe.
Why?
For a
This is
few
the
reasons.
question.
You might be putting up with something for a financial reason. You might be thinking, I just can't afford to fix or upgrade or deal with it at the moment. Very valid reason why you're putting up with something. It might be an energy thing, a time aspect involved. You might be putting up with something because you know in order to fix it, it's going to take some time and energy and effort.
Sometimes we just get into that mindset. I do this all the time, where it's like, oh, I just click the button and it's dealt with in half a second. But if I actually had to go and fix it, it would take me 3 minutes. So you just keep clicking the button every day.
Yeah. So are you saying that sometimes we make something bigger than it actually is in real life?
Yeah, we think it's going to take a long time to deal with.
Yeah.
And how often does this happen to you, where you're like putting up with something, and then you're like, right, I'm finally going to go and fix that. And you go in and fix it, and you're like, oh my gosh, that took me like the tiniest amount of time. And I had blown it up in my head to think that it was going to be this major thing.
Oh,
almost every time, right?
I feel this in my bones, Joe Jensen, like deep within me. We both procrastinate, I think.
Absolutely.
We work well under pressure, so that means we often put up with each other's procrastination because we know at the end of the day it gets done. But when you are putting something off, like physically you're putting it off, but emotionally, mentally, energy-wise, it's still there. It's niggling at you. And then when, as you said, you finally go, right, I've got no choice but to deal with this now. And it takes you 2 seconds and you just go, why was I putting up with that for so long? That's ridiculous. So that's another reason why you might be putting up with something, because you are a procrastinator. Or what about this? What if you're putting up with something due to your people-pleasing tendencies?
Absolutely valid reason. Not a great reason, but a valid one.
One that would
Coming from someone who is not a people pleaser.
Oh, so you don't feel that you're just you don't understand those that are people pleasers?
Correct.
Because you're not one.
I don't understand it. It is not my personality style. I'm like, oh, why? Why would you do that for someone else if it's impacting you or you don't want to?
Interesting.
You're not learning that new about me, are you?
I don't think I thought that you were a people pleaser, but I don't think I ever gave it any thought that you wouldn't understand other people's people-pleasing tendencies. There's a lot of
I know that people do, and I know that's a personality style thing for sure.
Yeah.
I still put up with things, a lot of things, or put up with people sometimes. Yeah. Well, let's get into some examples, right? Because we have got a lovely list for you.
Where should we start? I want to start with an example. I want to start with something that we had been putting up with. Oh, how long would you say? 2 years? 3 years?
I don't know what you're going to mention, so sure, yeah.
Our shockingly bad website copy. We were putting up with it, mainly for financial reasons, because we wanted it to be done right, and that was going to be a hefty investment for the people that we wanted to outsource it to. but it was not something that we were putting off. We were putting up with it for financial reasons, but it was making such a huge impact in our business because we were putting up with it for that long. It basically wasn't converting. Like, that's huge. When you have an online business and your website isn't converting due to poor copy, it's bad. It's really
Yeah.
bad.
Stop putting up with that for sure. Yes. So we've stopped putting up with that, and we
Mhm.
hired ourselves a couple of copywriters over the last year, and we are about to get some brand new website copy. So don't go look yet.
It's not
We
completely
need a
done.
little while to get it updated, even though this episode is coming out in kind of 10 days' time. Not enough time for us. But yes, very soon we're going to have some amazing website copy.
And doesn't that feel great? Doesn't it feel amazing to have that done? Now, because we had been putting up with it for financial reasons, the only way to kind of get out of that cycle of putting up with it was putting a plan in place. So we made it a priority to put funds aside in order to be able to afford that project.
Yeah. And even knowing, like last year, knowing that it was going to happen, I think we hired the copywriter maybe back in like September, something like that.
Yeah.
Knowing that it was happening in January was just such a relief because it was planned. We're not going to be putting up with it for much longer. We've stopped putting it off, hiring that copywriter. We've done it. There's a plan. It felt great. It still feels great, even though it's not up live yet. Still feels great knowing that there is a plan for it.
So good. So good. Now, that's a pretty big example of something that we put up with, but it doesn't have to be that big. It could be something small, right? It could be you're putting up with a shockingly busy inbox that's filled with spam and newsletters that you never open, that you immediately delete.
Yeah.
It's a little
Why are you
one.
putting up with those emails when there's that beautiful unsubscribe button on every single one of them?
Yeah. Like, it got to the point for me where my inbox was so full that I was just avoiding my inbox, and then that creates more problems. So one of the things I did during our time off over the summer was I spent a good chunk of time unsubscribing. And even to those, like, some of them it was really hard to unsubscribe. Like, people that I know personally that I was unsubscribing to their emails. So I made sure that I just sent them little notes. You know, when you can unsubscribe and you can add notes for some platforms. It's like, nothing personal, just overwhelmed with my inbox. I love you. I love your content.
Yeah. And I'll consume it in a different way.
I'll consume it in a different way, because that's the
Yeah.
thing. I'm still consuming their content. It's just via a different platform, different tool.
Yeah. And one thing that I was putting up with was sometimes when you like do an upgrade on your computer and it then starts to open a bunch of things on startup.
Yes.
And one of the things was Teams. And I think it was because I had joined a Teams meeting with someone, which I never do. Don't use Teams typically. And then it started to open it on startup every single time. And so then I would close it. Touch of a button, okay, dealt with. Okay, but not really actually dealt with, because tomorrow I'm going to have to do the same thing. And I did it over and over, and I do it for weeks. And then I'll be like, why don't I just go in and turn it off from opening on startup? So I did.
Yeah. Easy. So easy. Mine, along the similar lines, was my bookmarks that are up at the top of my screen. I realized that I was never using those bookmarks because they were all old bookmarks that weren't valid anymore. I didn't need to be using them on a daily basis. So I spent, I don't know, 15 minutes just deleting some, rearranging the order. Like, easy, 15 minutes. Why didn't I do it sooner? Why was I putting up with that?
Yeah. Notifications. Why do we put up with notifications that we don't ever want or need? Like, the amount of times that I see inboxes, and my husband's inbox had this, where they would get a notification from LinkedIn, an email saying, this person has posted something. It's like, you are never going to look at that. You do not need to know that that person has posted something, or that you might want to connect with these people. Like, why don't you just go into LinkedIn and turn off your email notifications? But because it's an effort, right? You have to
Yeah.
just stop, go in, make the effort of actually doing it. And again, we just make it out like it's going to be way harder than it actually is, or take more energy than it actually does. And it's very quick.
And for those that really struggle with boundaries, like the protecting their personal time, like being able to shut the door on their work, their client work, their business, having those notifications continuously popping up on your phone, following you around. I mean, it's actually just not healthy.
Yeah, I turned off so many of my notifications, and I just left on the things that I really needed to be notified about. I wanted Messenger, WhatsApp, because that's how my team communicate with me. And I turned off everything else. And it was so freeing to not have my phone constantly buzzing. And you can't help but look at it. And then you're like, that isn't relevant. Why am I not being present in what I'm doing right now and looking at a stupid notification? So I turned them all off, and it was amazing.
Feels great.
Life-changing.
Feels great. Should we talk about, a lot of those are quite niggly, right? Very, very small. Should we take it up a notch in terms of the effort maybe involved that's required to stop putting up with it?
Yeah. A slow, crappy laptop.
So
this is impacting you in so many ways.
This is a financial reason. You're probably putting up with it because you either can't afford to upgrade, or you think you can't afford to upgrade, because you might actually be able to make it work. Yeah.
What are you actually losing financially by having a slow laptop, you know? Like, what are you not able to do? How are you not able to be efficient or do work really well? And how is that impacting you financially?
Yeah. For me, it's my chair. And I think I've probably been talking about this for at least a year, maybe closer to 2
Sam,
years.
keep going.
Is it 2 years? Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been putting up with a crappy chair that's actually not good for me physically. It doesn't make me want to sit at my desk because it's uncomfortable either. So it's not a welcoming chair. The thing is, financially, I can afford it. So it's literally me going onto the website and placing an order.
I've got a challenge for you, Sam.
Oh, God. You're not allowed to be challenging me. Should we be challenging each other?
Yes. Okay. At 2 p.m. today, when we've finished our last live, I'm going to stay online with you while you order your chair. Because buy the damn fucking chair, Sam. How many more years do you need to talk about this amazing chair that you want?
Okay.
Okay. Talk through your feelings. Why? What are you feeling right now?
Okay, so this is really interesting because as soon as you challenged me, I realized that I hadn't been putting it off just because it's a matter of clicking and ordering it. I think this is me. See, my money personality? It's, oh God, I've forgotten now.
Order something?
Yeah, hoarder isn't my top, isn't my, my number one, but it's the second thing down in terms of my personality.
Is it
So
a masser? A masser is
yes, that's it. So I'm a masser followed by a hoarder, right? So it's absolutely me going, because the chair that I want is an expensive chair. Like, it's going to cost like $2,000. It's an expensive chair that I want. And even though I know I can actually afford that now because I have been saving up for it, as you said, probably over 2 years, there's that part of me, that hoarder part of me, that just wants to keep hold of that money in my bank account.
For what?
Security.
So do you think the chair would actually allow you to make more money?
Yes, because I'll be totally living out. I will feel like the biggest boss babe sitting in my super fucking fancy ass chair.
Yeah, and you'll wanna sit in the chair, right?
I'm gonna want to sit in it. Oh my God,
The
it's gonna feel so
energy
good.
the energy that you can put out to the world, to the universe because of that amazing chair, be incredible. It'd be an incredible manifester.
Okay, so let's say, can you re-challenge me? Instead of 2 p.m. today, can we
Uh-huh.
say by 9 a.m. Monday morning? I will have done it.
Okay. That's fair. Then you've got a bit more breathing space to look at it and
Yeah,
figure it out.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Done.
done.
So
Gee,
on the next podcast episode, we'll let you know whether Sam took up that challenge and purchased the chair.
well, I have to now. You have
Are
to.
you like almost like sweaty hands now?
Yeah, literally. It's like, I feel very hot. No,
Mhm.
it's good. I needed that challenge. Thank you for the therapy session. So if anyone else has been putting off buying their chair and it due to their hoarder tendencies, let this
Mm,
be an inspiration to you.
yeah. Same with things like, look around you right now or when you're at your desk and think about like what is it that you are putting up with? What is that crappy thing? We all have a thing that we just need to upgrade
Yeah,
or replace or fix or do something about because what are you putting up with it for?
yeah, yeah.
What
Okay,
else?
let's
What
talk
else?
about. Okay, I reckon the next kind of level up would be something that you're putting up with that involves another human being. Have you noticed we're getting harder and harder in terms of what is required in order to stop putting up with something?
I love this one. Underperforming team member. You are putting up with someone who's just not doing what you want them to do, performing, committing, doing great work. And remember too, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. Every single problem in your business is
Mhm.
you. So you're putting up with it means that it's not actually that team member's fault. It's your fault. And you need to stop putting up with it and deal with it.
Because
Have
they may have no idea, right? They may have absolutely no idea that you are unhappy
yeah,
with something about their performance. Is
yep,
that fair on them?
not at all. You're putting all that kind of resentment energy towards that person and they're completely unaware most of the time. There's something that you need to deal with and have that tough conversation because that's one of the things why we put up with these things, right? Because the alternative is having a tough conversation. And typically we'll want to avoid that wherever possible. That is not good.
Yeah, these situations are when the thing that you're putting up with is due to the fact that you're putting off
Mhm.
having a difficult or tough or uncomfortable conversation. Another
Yeah.
example that comes immediately to mind is a client one. Hands up. I know we've both been in this position. Hands up who has put up with or is currently putting up with a client that isn't paying your actual going rate right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my hand is up. For years
Yeah.
did that.
Due to loyalty, that one of your first clients, you feel that loyalty, you don't think that they can afford you if
Mhm.
you were to put up your prices.
They're a not-for-profit.
Not for profit. You want to do
Yep,
good, right?
yep. What that actually means is that you have that resentment towards that client or those clients, and that energy that you're putting into that resentment could be absolutely redirected into having a short-term tough conversation, then imagine the feeling of it being done. Either they move on or they pay more, and you no longer have that resentment towards that client or resenting every time you have to do that work.
This is a biggie. This is a biggie because there is no way that you can avoid the fact that this is affecting your revenue, your income, your profit, the money that is in or isn't in your bank account.
Yep. The other thing you might be putting up with is what we like to call a pitter client. Pain in the ass client. Oh, well, you'll have them.
Yeah, we do.
It's that 80-20 rule. 20% of your clients will give you 80% of your problems. Take up 80% of your time. And those pitter clients are in that 20%.
Yeah. How do you know you've got a pitter client? How do you know they're a legit pitter client rather than you're something that you may be doing or not doing in order to, I don't know. Do you know what? I don't know where I'm going with
Make
this,
them
Joe.
not a pitter client.
Yes. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we have spoken about in the past about not all pain in the ass clients are due to the clients. It's due to you not communicating your expectations, your wants, your needs.
And assuming that they know how
Assuming
to
that,
be a better client.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So that
how can you identify a pitter client that you know it's time to stop putting up with?
So the pitter clients are the ones where you dread them, you see them calling you on your phone and you dread picking it up.
Mm.
Or they're always questioning the invoices, or they are the one that your team members are always anxious about or causes
Mm.
them stress and grief, or they don't pay on time, always following them up. They take a lot of admin unbillable time to deal with them.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Over your
those itty bitty ad hoc ones
Mhm.
that pop up occasionally, but when they do pop up, boy, they take up a lot of time and energy for
Mm.
very little financial gain.
Yeah.
So they're a pain in the ass client, without a doubt, if you have tried to train them into being a better client and it hasn't worked.
Yes, now this is key because they may be a pitter client to you, and the first step is always to train them, communicate with them, set expectations, try to fix the relationship so that they are no longer a pitter client. Because please don't assume that they know that they're doing something that is frustrating you because they don't.
Yeah. We've done a podcast episode on this, Joe. Just reminded
Yes.
me, are they really a shitty client? I can't remember the
Yeah.
number, but have a search of that.
Mm.
Are they really a shitty client? Yeah.
Yep.
Do the work first. But if you've done the work, you've attempted it, and you absolutely know that they are, without a doubt, a pitter client, then why are you still putting up with them?
I
Time
know
to
why,
say
'cause you're
goodbye.
avoiding
Yeah.
avoiding the tough conversation, which you think is gonna be worse than all of the resentment and all of the issues that you have ongoing with that client. Like, it's a tiny little amount of tough conversation and energy compared to, like, long-term having that client just hanging around. And we see this so often with our scale-up members.
It's incredible. The difference in how these virtual assistants are prior to firing pitter clients to after. Like, it's almost instant. As soon as you put down the phone for having that conversation, as soon as you've hit send on that email, just the lightness that you feel for doing it.
Relief.
free.
Yeah. And it can happen so quickly, right? As you say, it's as soon as you've had the conversation. It's not, the relief comes right then. It's not, you might still have to do some work for them and like actually offboard them, but the relief happens as soon as you've had that conversation.
It's going to feel amazing.
And what it does is it opens up the space for you to attract in your ideal client. So don't put it off any longer, that tough conversation with that particular client. And don't put up with it. You do not have to. Remember, this is your business. You are in control and you can make the changes that you want. And you can shape it to however you want. You can have the clients that you want.
Yeah. Make 2024 the year that you stop putting up with shit. Whatever type of shit that is, just stop putting up with it. So what do we recommend? So those listening, Joe, do you want them to sit down, pen and paper, look around, write down a list, go through their client list, think about their tools and everything that they use, their software, the hardware, the chair that they're sitting on, and just like brain dump all the things that they would love to like level up in their life and business?
Yeah. What are you putting up with? You know the things because they sit in the back of your head, niggling at you constantly all day, all week, all month. Those are the things. Yes, get them out on paper. Because once you have the list, you can then start to prioritize. Okay, what are the things that are just going to take me just a few minutes to deal with?
Yeah.
Like hit those first. This is about getting some momentum. Hit those things first, deal with those things, and then you can feel that like amazing boost of energy that you get. And then move on to some of the ones where you need to have a tough conversation, or financially you need to actually plan out when that's going to happen. Or it could be that, hiring a copywriter and getting your website copy updated, that's not just like a quick decision. That's going to take some effort, and that needs to be planned out when you are going to do that, because it's your effort and also your money as well. So grab your planner. If you have a planner, the 2024 VA Business Planner, they're still available, by the way. Grab that planner and start to work out, like, what are the things that I'm going to deal with this year? What am I going to stop putting up with in 2024? Because even planning out those things that you may not have dealt with right now yet is going to be such a nice feeling. So don't put those off any longer. You do not have to put up with these things. I'm going to make a commitment here on the podcast too.
Okay.
That I have some uncomfortable sports shoes that I wear very regularly that just make my legs sore and knees, and like I know that it's my shoes. They're not great shoes. So I'm going to make a commitment.
Are you sure it's not old age? It's just shoes, not just you're getting old?
It's the shoes.
Okay.
It's the shoes. I'm going to make a commitment that I am going to stop putting off getting actual proper sneakers.
Okay. When are you going shopping, Joe?
Oh, I'm going to have them by the middle of February.
Middle of Feb. Okay.
Yeah.
We're checking in.
Is there anything that you're putting off?
Oh, we've
getting sorted because you're putting up with it.
I think you've already challenged me. I think the chair this month is plenty.
Okay, so grab that list, figure out what you're going to stop putting up with, and let us know when you have dealt with that thing, you've stopped putting up with it. We would love to know. Send us a message. Let us know what you have dealt with, what you have sorted, and what you have stopped putting up with. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the VA Foundry website to check out the mastermind and the amazing resources, courses, and coaching.
You can find us at thevafoundry.com.